I really don't think there's been many better Wednesday mornings in the history of Wednesday mornings. This has been incredible. Got up nice and early, got some coffee ready, came for a drive to Macclesfield Forest. There was fog all over the lake. Now the lake has cleared, we've made coffee, we've flown the drone. There is no one around anywhere. I've not seen one person all morning. I've been here for about 2 hours now just filming and taking pictures. Perfect Wednesday morning. I love it. If anyone walks past me now, they're going to think I'm like moving into the forest with the amount of stuff I got with me. All my coffee gear, excuse the Christmas mug, it's the only one I could fit into my camera bag. And camera gear, tripods, just making myself at home, making videos. Now I've been flying my drone for just about a year now since I first bought it, but it has taken me until now to get into drone and aerial photography. I've only ever really used it for little video clips to fill out videos in vlogs and things like that, but recently in the last few weeks I've really started to get into photography. So what I want to talk about in this video is how you can take better pictures with your DJI Mini 2. Incredible little drone and very capable. I don't think a lot of people realise just how capable it is, and you can pretty much fly it anywhere because it's under 250 grams. Win-win. There's 2 geese in the trees that are creeping up on me just in there. Do I need to move? I have a feeling geese are quite aggressive, but I don't know if that's me just being stupid. I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna risk it. Okay, so I'm gonna send the drone up. I'm gonna record the screen on my phone as the remote controller. I'm gonna take some pictures and show you how we can go about getting the best possible pictures from your DJI Mavic Mini or Mini 2, whichever one you use. So let's get it in the air. There we go. Let's send it out. Hi, it's me. I've come from the future to interrupt this video as I had a little bit of a disaster when I was recording. I got the drone back and realised that I hadn't actually clicked screen record on my phone, so whatever I was talking about is completely pointless because I can't show it on the video. So, change of plan. I'm going to very quickly talk you through it now, and then we will stick the pictures onto Lightroom and show you how you can go about creating your masterpieces. So firstly, when you are taking pictures with your drone, always use the manual settings. You have far greater control over what you are creating if you use the manual functions. Now that's control over the shutter speed and the ISO. You want your ISO to be as low as you possibly can, so that's usually around about 100. And if you got one of the really higher end drones, then you might also have an aperture control, but if you don't have an aperture control, use the shutter speed to your advantage. My second tip for taking your drone photos is to shoot in RAW. Now you get the option between JPEGs and RAW. RAW always. RAW gives you so much more flexibility when it comes to editing. Don't shoot JPEGs. Just don't do it. Now one final tip for taking your photos is to shoot in the AEB mode. And what this means is your camera will take 3 photos. It will take one at the exposure that you set, one at a higher exposure and one at a lower exposure. And what you can do then is when you get into editing it in Lightroom, as I will show you in a second, is you can merge them all together to create one picture, and then you get a higher dynamic range. And if you shoot in RAW as well, which I highly recommend, as I mentioned before, you will have a lot of flexibility over the images you create, even using a small drone such as the Mavic Mini. You might also want to take some panorama photos with your drone. Now that might be wide landscape views or even portrait panoramas. I've really started to get into portrait panorama pictures with my drone. I love them, and I'm going to show you how to create that in a second. But there is a panorama setting in the Mini 2. Don't use it. Do not use it. Use the AEB mode and take your own pictures, keep the drone in the same spot and just move the gimbal up and down and overlap the pictures. It will all make sense in a second, and just rotate the drone every time you take a picture, just like that. Everything will make sense as soon as I show you in Lightroom, which I'm gonna do now. Okay, so I have Lightroom open here and you can see that I have already imported some pictures. This is just one picture I took work using the AEB mode, so I have 3 pictures from it. We've got a higher exposure, a lower exposure, and the normal middle ground exposure. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight them all, right click and click photo merge, and then HDR merge. Now what this is going to do is it's just going to merge them all together to create one image, and we get the dynamic range of all of them. It's incredible. I really don't know how it does it, but it is so easy. So there we go, we click merge, and that second one there is our final HDR image. Now you can see here the sky is nicely exposed, the distance in the foreground is nicely exposed, and the water is nicely exposed as well. There's nothing over or underexposed. And then, as we are in Lightroom, you can obviously go in and change all your settings, so you can play around with contrast, highlight, shadows, whites, bring the blacks down, and then you can play around with the saturation. It's a little bit oversaturated, I think. Nice and vibrant. And we'll change the blues a little bit, make them a bit darker, like that. And I'm pretty happy with that actually. We might, oops, what have I done there? We might just add a little bit of a colour curve, bit of an S curve, bit of contrast. And that is your final HDR image. You can go and play with it as much as you want. Now if you took that in JPEG format, you would not have the amount of flexibility that this gives you, because there is not as much information stored in a JPEG file. And also if you just took a single raw shot rather than use the AEB mode, again you would not have the same flexibility. So by using AEB and creating a HDR image, you get far more flexibility. Now what you can also do is create panoramas. Now as I mentioned before, what you want to do when you're doing that is not use the panorama mode that comes on your drone. You just want to take auto exposure bracketing images yourself, so you get 3 pictures and then you rotate the drone round, for example, or you could do a portrait one and just move the gimbal up and down. So if I just add in some more photos, I have here 3 photos that I took with the drone just from rotating once every time I took the picture, and making sure I overlapped the pictures every time as well. And I took them in AEB mode, which is why I have the 9 pictures altogether. So we have 1, 2, 3 of the same picture, all with different exposures. So what we're going to do is exactly the same as before. We're going to highlight the 3 same ones, right click and HDR merge. And there we go, that's the second one again. It's always the second one. And then we're going to go down to the next 3 that are the same and do exactly the same. And there's our HDR image, and finally with these ones as well. And there we go. Now we have 12 pictures, but we only want to use 3. We just want to use the 3 HDR ones that we've just created. So we're going to select just those 3 to create our landscape. Right click and again photo merge, but this time we're going to click on panorama merge. And what Lightroom is going to do is it's going to work its magic. I have no idea how it does it, but it's going to create a landscape picture using those 3 images. And there we go. It's there. It's done it automatically for you. It's as simple as that. You can choose some different perspectives, so we can go to cylinder, which looks pretty similar, and perspective, that's not worked for this particular image. So we're gonna go with the spherical one. We'll click merge, and there we have our final image, our wide angle panorama landscape, and it looks incredible. Now then obviously you can go in and crop it and get rid of those white edges. That looks all right like that. And then obviously you can go in and change around all your exposures and your contrast and literally everything that you might want to mess around with. So I'm gonna bring the whites down, bring the blacks down as well. We'll add a bit of a contrast curve, a bit of an S curve. It's a little bit oversaturated, just a little. And then we're gonna click this and play around with the sky just a little bit. Bring the greens down just like that. And then you can go in and add some texture, some clarity, some dehaze. Pretty much just play around with it as you like. You can sharpen it, and reduce the noise if you need to, if you're taking it when it's a little bit darker and you've got a lot of noise. But that is taken on the DJI Mini 2. You now have a full wide landscape that you can then go and import into Photoshop and make even more edits to if you'd like to, and just play around with it as much as you want. It is that easy to create incredible images with your DJI Mini 2. I'd highly recommend it, highly recommend it. Just make sure you're always shooting in RAW and you use the AEB mode to take your photos. Incredible. For a base level drone that weighs less than 250 grams that you can fly pretty much anywhere, it's insane. You can get images like that. I think that is incredible. It's bonkers. So yeah, that's it for this video. Go and have fun taking pictures with your DJI Mini 2 or whatever drone you have. This is the same for all drones, but to be able to do it on such a small, affordable drone like this is incredible. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you like what you see on this channel, click that little subscribe button down below there and come and be a part of this community, which is growing very quickly at the moment, which is massively exciting. So thank you to everyone that is subscribing and watching the videos. It is massively appreciated. And yeah, I shall see you all very soon in another video.